I am moving to Denver from LA, and I went and I toured apartments about a month or two ago. So the one I ended up choosing is not in this video, but I toured 9 in total, so you guys are gonna see 8 today. First of all, this is an apartment with me, my boyfriend, and my munchkin over here, Mr. Bailey. And there are some non-negotiables that we needed. We 100% wanted to have a balcony because we love having an outdoor space and we feel like it is like essential for a home. I need to have lots of natural light for filming. I'm doing content creation full time again, and so lighting is honestly key. I love using artificial lights, but on a daily basis, especially when I'm vlogging, I really do need natural light. So that is our number 2. Number 3, we needed parking. So we are only looking at downtown Denver, and the parking is very, very expensive. So that is really why I feel like the pricing is so much higher than you would probably expect it to be. So we needed to have 2 parking spots. And then number 4, we just wanted to be in a really nice walkable area. We're not really worried about safety, homeless people, all the stuff. We've lived in LA. I have had lots of homeless people around me at every single place I've lived. It's never been an issue. I do not have a problem with homeless people, so that's not something I'm worried about. I don't think that's a safety issue. And some of these apartments definitely had some homeless around in certain areas, but that's just what you get when you're in downtown. And for me, I don't care. Do you, I'll do me, you're a person too. Just because you don't have a house doesn't mean I should be fearful of you. Let's jump into it, and I hope you guys enjoy. So these first apartments were really interesting. The guy described them as being in Capitol Hill. Now, I am not a Denver or Colorado native, and I know how people are with their cities and like neighborhoods and being like, that's not that. I feel like we were not in Capitol Hill. That's all I'm gonna say. I feel like we were still in that Golden Triangle area. If not just like whatever downtown is. So that was really my main first issue. I did not really like the area. It was just in this weird spot. It also had construction happening right next door in every single unit he showed us. We were on the side with the construction. So that's always something I think about because I have lived in many apartments where there is construction. And while I worked a 9 to 5, it wasn't really an issue, but my boyfriend does work from home because he's remote, and I also work from home now too. So I try and avoid places that have like active construction going on next door, which can be a little bit hard when you're looking at, you know, downtown areas. So that was something that I was keeping in mind. I did love the design of the apartments. I'm not a huge fan of like long wall kitchens. So he showed us one unit like that, and that was really my only issue with that one. That one had its own pros because it did have like a cute little wraparound balcony. I just felt like we weren't looking at anything. Like we weren't really facing anything to look at. And while I'm not like, oh, I need to have like this beautiful, crazy view, we were just kind of looking at parking lots, which was not completely the goal. Now, my main issue with this building in general is when you start looking at these luxury buildings, I know, I lived in them in Atlanta, there are like millions of fees. This one, I feel like they took the fees too far. There were like fees for like what floor you were on, which just felt a little ridiculous. And then you paid an amenity fee every single month, which I felt like, guys, you're doing a lot. They did recently redo like the whole building. Everything was renovated. It was a beautiful building. They had like a pool. That was kind of like another thing we wanted to have, we didn't have to have. They had a dog park, which was nice. It was actually in a garage, which was kind of interesting. I just felt like the building, although it was beautiful, it was just so overpriced. Like the units that he showed us, I think were between like $2,400 and $2,700, and I just don't feel like we were getting that out of the units. Like I liked the bathrooms. I felt like you had a good amount of storage space, but I just didn't really feel like we were getting what we were paying for. And location is kind of first for me. And so once we got on those balconies and we were looking at what we were looking at, I was like, I don't think this is gonna be for us. On to building number 2. This was a building that was like kind of in my top faves. This is like one of the only high-rise buildings we found with floor-to-ceiling windows. This one was definitely way more expensive. These were all around like $2,500, $2,600 before fees and before parking. So we were like, I think this is a bit out of our budget. like what we're looking for specifically. We could pay it, but we don't need to. But we wanted to see it anyways, just to see if we liked that feel, if we liked being really, really high up, if we liked having those windows. And this was a beautiful apartment. Now, there were lots of negatives about this floor plan specifically. So this is not like a building thing, it was just this floor plan. It had this really, really long hallway, which was taking up so much square footage because these bedrooms were teeny tiny. Now, most of the bedrooms in downtown are a little bit smaller, but these were like so small that it was like, I don't even know if I could fit a queen size bed in here. Yeah, this apartment really just like was not it. I feel like I didn't fully understand why they were as expensive as they were, but they were nice. I mean, I'm not gonna say they weren't nice. I just think when I'm looking for luxury and I'm looking for high rise, I'm also looking for space. And I felt like they were charging us a little bit too much for the amount of space that we were looking for. The third apartments that we went to go and see were really, really cool. And these were like top of our list until we saw the reviews. There were two problems. There were three problems with this building. The first problem is the reviews were really, really bad. Like people talking about stuff that would actually affect you on a daily basis. People like graffitiing hallways and stuff. A little bit too much of a young crowd. Number two, the parking. It was like, they didn't have a parking lot. There was like a lot that you could use that was down the street or something like that. And that was still kind of expensive. I think it was like $175 a car, but they had valet parking, but it was $300 a month per car. And so we were like, okay, I don't think that's gonna be feasible. And then the third thing was that it was recently acquired by Greystar. So it's now a Greystar property. If you've ever looked for an apartment, you know Greystar. If you've lived in one, I'm so sorry. I hope you got out alive. But they are like one of the worst property management companies. They really do help like transform your building, but then they kind of just leave it high and dry. So first of all, this building was actually really cool. They did not have a pool, and they weren't like very good about their outdoor spaces just because of the proximity to the mall. This also used to be an office building, which is why the windows and everything look like that. So it was a very like unique building with a lot of character. They had like a movie theater room, which was probably the coolest amenity, and they did have a really nice gym. They actually had a squat rack, and they were gonna be like extending the gym and everything. But this was like our red flag with this building and why we really wanted to see it. The apartments were so cheap, so cheap. They were like $2,100 to, I think $2,300 was maybe the most expensive. They did have some penthouses, which was the last unit that he showed us, but those were like $3,600. But if you got it like that, it was a really nice apartment. They had like this huge balcony, like floor to ceiling windows everywhere, and it was honestly really cool. But the apartments themselves were really, really nice. Like he was saying he felt like they were very dated, but I actually liked the light brown kitchen that they had done, and I felt like it fit the space. I feel like there was so much space. These were some of the biggest apartments that we saw. The only thing I didn't really like about the apartments themselves was the balconies. Like they weren't bad, they were just very, very small. They were as small as they looked, but it was cool because they had like an opening, so you actually kind of were outside, but then it was fully covered. So, you know, I feel like if you're just one person, but right now it just wasn't making a lot of sense. But our tour guide was amazing. He was so sweet. He lived in West Hollywood before he moved there, and he's actually from Southern California, so it was so fun talking to him because we were just talking about LA and everything. But yeah, that one was a sad one because we did really like it. This next one was definitely our least favorite. This gave Atlanta vibes. And to all my Atlanta followers, of which I have many, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So many of the buildings in Atlanta are set up like this building. First of all, this was probably like, this is a great building for like your first apartment, or maybe like you're in college or you just graduated college, because they have like this kind of community feel. I'm not really looking for that in buildings anymore. I actually don't want that. I don't want there to be hundreds of thousands of people at the apartment. This apartment community was so large, like I don't even know what was going on. I think there were over 600 units. It's just, I never want to have that many people in proximity to me. I lived in a building that was very large. When I lived in Atlanta, we had like 8 buildings, and I think there were like 500 people, and it was a lot. Like, I'm surprised we didn't have more issues than we did have. I just don't like having that many people, especially after living in LA. The biggest apartment complex that I had in LA, I think had 30 units, and my last apartment had like 27. So I really do like that smaller building feel, and this was just like way too much. Like, a lot of the high-rise buildings and stuff, you have lots of people, but it doesn't feel like it because you're at least like split onto levels and you don't have a bunch of buildings. This had like a ton of buildings. Like, it was like this whole entire thing where when you looked outside, you were like looking at your community. They had a really nice dog park outside, and they had like all of these little patio areas. Like, it was crazy. It was like you were in your own town. But I don't want to feel like I'm in my own town. I want to feel like I'm in a city. So that is definitely for people that want more of that like sheltered feel, which I can completely understand, just not what we were looking for personally. These next ones were honestly pretty high on my list initially, and they did not disappoint when we went to go and see them. I really liked these because I feel like they had really nice kitchens. I loved the gray. Like, I am not a millennial beige gray person. I am a millennial, but I'm very like eclectic. Yeah, eclectic with my housing and everything. My boyfriend is too. Like, I love color, but I really did like the kitchen, and I like the floors and how everything was set up. The major pros of this building, honestly, were they had all of these really nice like built-ins in the closets, which were really cool. I feel like there was a decent amount of storage, like storage closet. Every apartment had washers and dryers. I don't think I mentioned that, but it's not really even a thing to not have them with any of the apartments when I was doing the initial apartment search on Zillow. So that wasn't really like I need to have this, because it was going to be there regardless. So that's kind of nice coming from LA. But I think that this building honestly was really nice. It didn't have a lot of cons. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. They had a pool, but it was like really small. They had like a cute outdoor space. They had a cute little gym, but there wasn't anything that was truly standing out in terms of the building. And I think that it needs to be in a luxury building. Like, I want the amenities and everything like that to make up for the price. Like, the apartment itself, like I said, I feel like the apartments were really, really nice. He showed us, I think, 2 or 3 floor plans. I don't think I showed them all in this video though, because I didn't end up filming everything because they kind of looked exactly the same. But yeah, I don't know. And I feel like the area was okay. This was technically in 5 Points, which is like a historically Black area, which is really cool. Like, a lot of culture. They have like a lot of bars and everything. So it's more of like a bar scene. But I think in terms of lots of stuff to walk to, not really in this area specifically. I just don't want it to feel quiet. And this felt very, very quiet, especially coming from LA. Like, we need some noise. These next apartments were ones that were also my favorite. So here's the problem. We wouldn't have even toured this place if I knew it wasn't gonna have a balcony. So basically online, I saw this floor plan, and the tour and everything of it, it showed that there was supposed to be a balcony, but like you couldn't see the balcony. Like, on the floor plan, it showed that there was like this huge balcony that was the whole length of like the kitchen / living room area all the way to the other bedroom. But the guy told us they don't have any available for that. And it's so funny because he was asking us, he was like, what are the things that are kind of like non-negotiables? We were like, oh, like, we definitely want to have a balcony. And then I think we said that we were trying to stay away from a wall kitchen. And he was like, oh, well, he was like, this place has a wall kitchen, but it does have an island that is like kind of detached, and it doesn't have a balcony. But we're like, let's see it anyways, because this unit has the most beautiful view of downtown. Like, this is a true skyline view. Saw some other apartments that were saying there was like skyline views. I was like, this is not a skyline view. This is a skyline view. These apartments were beautiful, but also very weird. These were also in 5 Points, so we'd already decided this area is way too quiet. It was just like silent when we were walking around there. Loved the pantry. We loved that there was so much storage. There were so many closets. The bedrooms were nice and big. There was just a lot of space. It was really, really well done. It felt very updated. The pricing matched as well. I think the apartment was like around $2,300. They didn't have a lot of random fees. So yeah, I don't know. It's perfect for someone. There's not a lot to say about this next apartment. First of all, they did not have a single 2-bedroom available. So we were only able to see a 1-bedroom. These were also giving Atlanta apartment, which is not what we were going for. But I feel like these were kind of interesting. Like, I loved the island. It was this really weird shaped island, but it was absolutely massive and really cool for the space. It was just like, there was something about this where something just was not clicking. Like, it was very nice, but I just did not like it at all. And I honestly cannot tell you why. It had a good amount of storage. It had a nice little patio space. It just felt soulless. And I know it's a model, so you know it's gonna be a little bit different, but it shouldn't feel soulless when there's stuff in the apartment and it's completely staged. I don't know, there was just something really, really off about it. But this one was in Rhino, and we were actually kind of sad because we hadn't even really looked at Rhino because people kept saying there was like a huge homeless population that was like an issue. And I don't know where the homeless people were, but they were chilling somewhere else because we did not see any of them. And like I said, not really something I worry about, but people were talking about it so much in reviews that I just stopped looking at that area entirely. But it's okay because it's kind of like a little bit further from stuff anyways. But we actually do really like that area, so it's kind of funny. But the apartments, I just feel like they don't have good apartments over there. The next complex that we went to go tour at is like the reason why you should always just go on a tour. I found these online, all the pictures and stuff. I was like, I feel like I just really don't like these units. And I feel like I should because they had like kind of the exposed ducting and like the setup was really nice, but the photos were just so poorly done. I was like, I just feel like we're not gonna like this. But we went to go check it out anyways. It was in a really cool area. It's in like that ballpark arena area, which was actually a lot cooler than I thought it would be. Now, the apartments were really nice. Like, I don't know why the photographs did absolutely no justice for these, but I thought they looked really, really good. And I loved like the coloring of everything. I liked the bedrooms. I did not like the carpet because I felt like the carpet was like such a dark color. It kind of threw me off a little bit. It's just another thing you have to think about when you are setting stuff up in a room. But it had pretty decent views. I feel like it just kind of felt like city views considering you're not like in like the downtown, you know, stratosphere with all the buildings around you. They also had a beautiful rooftop with probably the best views in the city that we had seen at any of these apartments, because most of these apartments had some sort of rooftop thing, which was actually really nice. Still, like, there was just something about it where I was like, I don't think I would live here though. I was like, I like the concept of this apartment, but I just still don't feel like it's my vibe. So those were all the apartments that we went and toured. I hope this was helpful. I just noticed when I was looking for apartment tours, I just was not finding any, honestly, for Denver, especially more like luxury, expensive ones. So I hope this helps someone who might be looking, and if not, to all those nosy people, myself included, I hope you enjoyed, because I love watching people tour apartments. I feel like it's a really good time. So I hope you got something out of this. Please subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, and I will see you guys in my next one. I love you.